if you're topping the ball, you're going to be really doing one of two things, okay? Either your arc is too narrow and you're coming into the ball with not enough room to get the ball airborne, or your shoulders are way out ahead of your hips. In both cases, you're going to be hitting your driver on the downswing, and that's really not what we want to do. So your focus has to be on not letting the arc get too narrow, bending your left arm, collapsing your arms, staying on the front leg too much, and you've got to make sure that your legs lead your shoulders. Both of those things can fix it. So to do that, you got to have a big arc with the driver. You got to stretch your hands out. You got to get the club out. You got to get your shoulders fully turned. If you'll do that, that arc will be lifting at impact, not descending. I'll get rid of anything where you're hitting the ball way too low.
Thanks for joining me on the Golf Channel Academy. I'm your coach, Mark Polich. Today I want to talk about chipping. Chipping is largely about making solid contact with the ball. One of the biggest mistakes I see with players who struggle with their chipping is their lower body gets too active. So they'll take a swing and their lower body will be way too active on the backswing. I've got a little 25-yard chip shot here, and what happens if that lower body gets very active, it's difficult to make solid contact consistently. So what I talk about and what I work with my students on is quieting that lower body during the backswing and then let it release with the swing. So here's what I want you to do. Remember again in your chipping, quiet lower body, swing the arms.
Hello, I'm Joe Terry, PGA Tour Champions Rules Official. Seems like the year of 2016 we've dealt with a lot of situations where ball at rest is being moved. Recently in the Ryder Cup, we watched Jordan Spieth in a similar situation where ball was in the edge of a water hazard, the ball was moved, and it wasn't very clear to a lot of our viewers because we've had a lot of questions on this. Why did Jordan pick up the ball and concede the hole? Well, we reviewed all of the evidence that was available to us, and the referee on hand made the decision that it was very clear that Jordan's actions at the golf ball, when he put his foot into the water, the movement of the water caused the ball to move from its position, come to rest in another position. As you will remember, the ball was clearly above the water. After he placed his foot, the ball was underwater. It had moved and come to rest in another position. There was no question, because there was a lack of current, lack of waves, lack of any other element that could have caused that ball to move, the player caused it to move, and therefore he incurred a one-stroke penalty.
Hard let this. You're under pressure. You need to chip and get up there. Obviously, you've made so many putts of consequence, but in order to have that birdie putt, even though it was a ticklish one, tell us about the mechanics of this shot.
Yeah, I chose to not fly it onto the green because I got a hill there, and it's about a 3-foot break, 3.5-foot break. So I decided to chip it short into the fringe and let it bounce out. So I took a pitching wedge to get a little bit more release. Yeah, I often play these shots with a sand wedge, but then the ball might dig in. So took a pitching wedge. What I did is I put it back in my stance a little more so the hands go forward. Now the wedge looks more like a 9-iron. Comes out a little bit lower, hopefully a little bit better contact. And then it's all just, you know, good contact and the right speed. Very little body motion. And that was pretty good as well.
Sure would have been. Now, if you put your hands forward to make the wedge look like a 9-iron, why not just hit a 9-iron?
Good point. The idea is because if the hands are a little forward, my angle of attack gets a little bit steeper. So I can put the ball back and have that 9-iron loft. If I put the ball back here with a 9-iron, it looks like an 8 or 7-iron. I want it back. I feel better, if anything, coming down a little steeper and, you know, make contact with the ball instead of having the ball forward and catching maybe a bit of grass in front and scooping it too much.
Well, happy birthday. Yesterday, you obviously turning 59. We talked about that on the broadcast. Was it all the preparation and the discussion that you had with your coach, Willie Hoffman, that led to this victory? Or was it the Thai food and the chocolate, German chocolate roll homemade by the Clappers?
All of the above.
All of the above.
Yeah, it all was a wonderful week all together, and I'm very thankful for friends and family.
102 worldwide wins for the man who just turned 59, Bernhard Langer. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks, Dave.
I missed the fairway, and now I've got this. Does this happen to you? Of course it does. You get a divot. Now there are some of you that are just taking this thing and you're just kind of going, don't do that. It's a bad idea. I want to teach you how to hit that shot so you don't panic when you find yourself in this situation. And by the way, this happens all over the place, not just in the rough. It can happen in the fairway, it can happen everywhere. If it's happening on the tee, you got big issues. All right, now here's the deal. How do I hit this shot? Well, I've got to get very steep on this. This club has to come into this ball. I've got to hit this ball first. And it's slightly below my feet because it's in that divot. So what am I going to do? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to play that ball on the back of my stance. I've got to make sure that this angle of approach is coming in a little bit steeper. Next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to stand a little bit closer to that ball as well. I want to make sure that I do everything I can to get this club coming down on top of this ball. That's what I've got to do. So not unlike when we get stuck in the rough where we're setting our weight a little bit forward, we're going to do that as well. We do have to make sure, however, that when this comes in, that there's not a lot of movement with the body. It's almost like you're hitting out of a fairway bunker as well. So we're going to make sure that when you take your practice swing, and I want you to take a practice swing, is that you're sitting into that left side and you're kind of staying there, and you're really feeling that chest staying down over the shot. Many of you will get into the proper setup position, but then when you come through the shot, you're letting this chest rise up because you want to try to get this ball up into the air. You're not doing that. You've got to make sure that that chest is staying down to the ground, and then that club is going to find the bottom of the arc. And as a practice stroke, you're seeing where that club is bottoming out, and then you're making sure that you're going to play that ball farther back from where that low spot is or where it's bottoming out. So the ball's in the back. I'm a little bit closer. I'm leaning on my lead side. And then I'm making sure that when I come through here, my chest is really over this ball through the strike. You're going to take a divot here. Now what you're going to find is that that ball's going to flight out of that divot a lot lower. But it's going to be really solid. And as you can see, I did get a divot. I extended the length of that divot. Then when you're done here, make sure it doesn't happen to the people behind you. Go get that sand out of the bucket that's on your cart and fill that divot up properly. As you do that and you take better care of the golf course, you're probably going to have some good fortune go your way. That's how you're going to deal with that divot, and that's how you're going to make sure that the people behind you don't have to deal with that divot when they come in.
On the fix here, a question from Marcus. He says, I wish I could stop blocking the ball. Surely there's a fix for the scourge of my game. Marcus, there is. First of all, a lot of people don't know what blocking the ball is. So for a right-handed player, blocking the ball is or when the club is coming down from the inside too much and the path is heading out to the right. So this orange swim noodle here is going to give you sort of an image of what's happening, and the ball blocks out to the push side or to the right. What we have to do is we have to get that path going a bit more over the top, what we would do. And so what I want to do is just take that swim noodle and we're just going to set it down so that it's going slightly to the pull side or to the left. So I shift that there. Then we're going to put a ball just on that side. And what I want you to do is I want you to get the image, and by blocking it that way, if you come through, you're going to hit that. We don't want to hit that. We want to get over the top and go that way. This ball should start straight or slightly to the left. And you can see that starts slightly to the left. Pretty good strike there. That actually is going to go a pretty good distance. And that's what blocking the ball is, and that's how you get over that. Just put a little instrument in there like a swim noodle or something, and that'll help you out.
Thanks for joining us on Golf Channel Academy. I'm Blair O'Neill alongside the Professor Martin Hall, here to get you playing your best golf.
Yes, today's tip, finish like Fred. Who is
Okay.
Fred? Fred Couples? Fred Funk? No, one of my students.
Okay.
Who's a long-time slicer. And when Fred hits the ball, I'm going to hit one like Fred.
All right.
You would think there's not much to learn from this, but in fact, this is Fred. He finishes round here, and as teaching pros, we've all seen it. The left elbow's round there, and the chest has gone forward. So finish like Fred usually leads to a shot something like this, usually a wicked slice. Fred usually slices it. There it goes.
Just
Off
like
you go.
that.
Well done, Fred.
there's
Now,
Fred Slice.
So that is the Fred Slice. And it's in the Fred water as well. Now, what can we learn about that would help some golfers?
What can we learn from that?
If you hook the ball, try to finish like
Try
Fred.
this, okay.
It's a neutralizing agent.
Right.
So if you hook the ball, I can promise you from my own experiences, having this image, it won't look like this when you video it, that's for sure, but if you try and finish like Fred,
just try to
you
feel
won't
that
hook
sensation.
it.
Okay.
Yeah, have a couple of practice swings.
Okay.
We often see the practice swing exaggerated. I can certainly think of Matt
Exaggerate
Kuchar. I
that.
can think of Olin Brown. I mean, lots of people do that. If you have any hook tendency, finish like Fred. I say not Fred Couples, not Fred Funk, more like Fred Flintstone. It'll feel really weird, really caveman-like, but if you've got lots of...
it'll take the hook out of any swing.
It'll take the hook out of your golf swing. So here we go.
Finish like Fred. All right.
And it just
definitely didn't hook.
Well, it just put a gentle fade on that, and that's absolutely fine.
Right.
Let's try one more.
Okay.
You know, it's giving you, you know, you haven't done it before. We'll give you one more here. But if you hook the ball, you wouldn't be upset to see a little bit of fade. You've got to go to the other side of the road. So again, finish like Fred. There's something to learn. Oh, yes, that was much better.
There we go.
There's something to learn from every golfer. That's something that I have realized. Just because someone's a high handicap player, it doesn't mean it can't teach me something. I can learn something from them. I can pass it on to you. I can pass it on to viewers. So if you hook it, finish like Fred.
Finish like Fred. Thanks for joining us on Golf Channel Academy. For more great tips like this, make sure to watch School of Golf.
From Mike, any tips or drills to eliminate swaying? Any ideas on the source of this problem? You know what, Mike? Here's what I would tell you. We absolutely have an idea for the source. The source is you've been taught you've got to load that weight onto your trail side. So you start shifting over here. Or you're trying to get going, and so you're trying to use a trigger, but you're using the wrong trigger, and you're sliding back. We've got to make sure that the trail hip doesn't get outside of the trail heel, and the trail shoulder doesn't get outside of the trail heel. So the easy way to do this is you're just going to get a little bar. You're going to take this bar, you're going to set it up like this, drop it down onto the mat like that, and now what we're going to do is we're going to feel this trail hip. When it goes back, it's going to move away from that bar and rotate. So you're going to feel that weight, and what will happen is that weight is going to shift right into that trail heel. Watch what happens. I don't know if I can get a close-up on camera 2 here, but watch what happens. Can I get a 2? Perfect. And now when we go, see how it loads in? You can see how my rear back here is on the trail side of that heel. What happens is when we start here and we slide, it doesn't get back there. I bump into that. What I want to do is I want to feel that load into there, almost like it's loading right over that FJ right there. So we're going to really feel that heel dig in there. And from there, now I can go ahead and I can move forward. I can generate some speed. So, Mike, here's what you're going to do. Get in here. Feel that. You're just going to get a little bit of a rehearsal right before you go. And then when you go, I want you to feel this hip moving that way. And what you're going to find is you're not going to sway. You're going to generate a lot of club head speed, a lot of distance. Let's see what we got out of this one. We're going over here anyway, so let's see what we got on this one. Club head speed, 90 miles an hour. Beast, carry distance.
Whenever you tend to slice your irons, what you're going to find is it's usually caused from some sort of disconnection. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, disconnection is basically when the body's doing one thing and the arms are doing the other. What you'll tend to find is sometimes when you come down, the pivot tends to stall, the left arm bleeds off the body, the chicken wing ensues, and the blade stays open. So what do you need to do? Well, I want you to feel, is this armpit stay tight? And whenever we have that, the body is going to rotate, the left arm's going to stay glued to the body, and it's going to cause the club face to square up and close down a little bit quicker than normal. So, tuck that armpit in, and here we go. So stay connected and you won't slice those irons any longer.
So you're hitting too many thin iron shots. A thin iron shot is caused from the bottom of the arc being too far behind the ball. And what's happening is that club is actually coming in and it catches the middle part of the ball. It's a shallow swing as you're coming into it. That club path may even be swinging too much out to the right, and you can see if this is neutral, if I tilt this hula hoop, it's now moved the bottom of the arc well behind the ball. So to fix this, we might need to do some things in your swing, but we can certainly address your setup. Narrow your stance up. Make sure your shoulders are a little more level. Head centered over the ball so that when you turn, you stay very centered on your turn. We don't want you drifting off the ball that would cause that swing to come too much from the inside. Secondly, in your path, remember, we tend to be swinging maybe a little more into out or slightly up on the ball. It wouldn't hurt to feel like you're swinging a little more over to your left, to almost feel like you can move the club and brush the grass out in front of the ball. Another reason we tend to see is this left arm is pulling, that's leaving that club head too far behind. So again, let's get that club head matching up. Get the bottom of the arc more back right in front. Feel like you're going to move that divot in front of the ball. Work on these things, you'll eliminate those thin iron shots, and you'll start hitting the ball solidly.
Find your shots not staying on the green out of the fairway bunker. Here's a couple things that'll help you hold more greens. First is, a lot of times you hear take more club. I would just get my yardage to the front of the green. If anything on this shot, we're trying to miss it a little thin, and that way if you land it on the front of the green, it'll still stay on and hold that green. The second thing that we hear all the time is, am I trying to pick this shot? And the answer to that's no. We want to be able to still create a descending blow. In order to do that, feel like you create a little bit of a hinge going back in your backswing. We don't want to go back too low without any hinge. Create a little hinge going back to help us create that downward strike. Have your target be the front of the green, and those two things will get you on the green more regularly.
I'm Joe Terry, PGA Tour Champions Rules Official. Today we want to talk to you about a little known option under the lateral water hazard rule. My ball hit from the teeing ground, as you can see in the background, crossed the margin of the hazard here where the tee is. There are 4 options that are available to me for taking relief from this hazard, all under penalty of 1 stroke. One of the options that, as I said earlier, is little known, is a point on the opposite margin that's the same distance from the flagstick to where my ball last crossed the margin of the hazard. This allows me to go to the other side of the hazard, to that point, again, that is exactly equidistant from the hole, and drop within 2 club lengths of the point where my ball last crossed the hazard line. No, none of the other options under the hazard rule are available when you take the opposite margin, except the 2 club lengths. So here, as you can see, I have a much cleaner shot to the green, avoiding bunkers, avoiding crossing the hazard. My ball's in play. The rules of golf have helped me in this circuit.
Are you folks out there struggling with thin shots, fat shots? How many times that you've done that old chunk right there? Well, probably the majority of it has to do with your grip pressure. In other words, your grip pressure is changing and fluctuating as you're coming from the top of the swing all the way down, which can cause either a fat or thin or top shot. Here's a great visual that we use to demonstrate constant grip pressure. Then you got a tube of toothpaste. Take the cap off. Make that golf swing here without any of the toothpaste coming out of the tube. Okay. Now, if you can maintain that feel, you're going to see a lot more crisper shots and less fat or thinner top ones. Here's what can happen if you don't. You're going to make a mess. So, make sure your grip pressure remains constant from the start to the back, all the way through the hitting area for crisper and nicer golf shots.
When you go to hit some balls, take 3 clubs, all right? And what I want you to do is set 1 club up at a target, and that's one of the most critical things always when you practice. Hit shots toward a target. Don't just hit them down the range. All right, so I'm gonna line this club up toward the 150 marker right there. I'm gonna lay another club down parallel left of that club, and then I'm gonna lay another club down at a 90-degree angle. So, what I've created for myself here is a little practice workstation to be able to check my alignment and also, at the same time, my ball position. So, this one's going toward my target, parallel left, so that is going to help me to align my body parallel left of my target line. Critical. Don't ever feel like you line your body first to the target, because if you do with the ball out here, it's going to point you to the right of the target every single time. My target's the 150 marker. I've got a club to be set my body parallel to. I've got this club to check my ball position, so I'm going to play it a couple inches inside my left heel. Now I'm ready to go. Now I make a swing.
Welcome to Golf Channel Academy. This is School of Golf. I'm your teacher, Martin Hall, alongside Holly Saunders, and we're here to help you get ready, go golf. Ready to take a question from the class?
Let's get right to it, Martin. This email comes to us from Larry Brooks, and Larry says, I live in the Northwest where it tends to rain 6 months out of the year, forcing practice on mats under cover most of the time. I hit the ball great off the mat, but once I get on the grass, I cannot get good contact with the ball. What can I do?
Well, that's a great question, because a lot of people, of course, are up in, whether it's northwest or the northeast, and perhaps even hitting in a garage at home down here in South Florida. Hitting off a mat is tricky, because in fact you can hit the ground 3, 4, 5 inches behind a mat and you will still hit a pretty good shot. It'll sort of bounce along the ground or skid along the ground perhaps. You can't hit it fat on a mat. So when people use mats, they need a good source of feedback. Probably doesn't come any easier or simpler than this. I'm just going to take a towel that I've doubled up here, and I'm going to put it about 1 grip length, start with 1 grip length behind the ball. Now, that's going to cause me to have a steepish angle down into the ball, otherwise I'll hit the towel. And as you get better, you can creep this mat, this towel in a little bit closer. Now, I actually, once I've set up there, I then reposition my club over the mat, because it would be easy for me to actually hit the towel on the way back. So I'm going to reposition my club just over the towel there, and I'm going to see, can I swing up, can I swing down without hitting that towel? And the answer is yes, I can. And that's going to give me, that was a decent one, that's going to give me, sort of the shift and the descent and the downward angle of attack. Oh, yes, that the towel, magic towel, works very well.
Right in the center. Nice.
But yeah, when you're using mats, you've got to be really careful. So this would just be a good sort of guardrail for you to make sure you're doing the good stuff.
And it clearly works.
We did that time.
Nice time to hit it there. All right, thanks for joining us on Golf Channel Academy for the very best in golf instruction. I'm Holly Saunders, and for some more great tips from your teacher, Martin Hall, tune into School of Golf with us every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time.
One of my favorite drills, the field goal drill. When you come out to the practice tee, many times what you're doing is you pick a flag and you aim at the flag. And when you hit that shot and it goes to the flag, you feel like you've hit a good shot. And if it goes kind of in the neighborhood, it feels like a good shot, right? And so you're just picking flags and you're hitting to flags. But you're not hitting like you're playing into a green. A green has a left side and a right side. And to the left of the left side, maybe a bunker, maybe a water hazard, whatever. And to the right of the right side, maybe the same. Maybe worse. Maybe an alligator over there, or a bear, or some sort of an animal that's going to come after you, whatever it is. So what I want you to do is I want you to play to field goals. I want you to create a green and get the feeling of hitting it onto the green. And then I want you to give yourself a target. So let me first point out my targets, and then I'll get through this. So I've got a big pole in the background there that's got a flag on it. That's going to be the left edge of the green. And then the right edge of the green is going to be the left edge of the building. So you can see the building in the distance there. You can see the left edge of it. So that's my green. That's the width of my green. From the edge of that building on the left edge of that building to that flagpole that's hanging out behind the building. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a goal for myself. And my goal is going to be, I've got an 8-iron in my hand. I should hit this onto the green, let's say 8 out of 10 shots. So what I'm going to do is I've got one golf ball here. I've got my pile over here, and I'm going to separate this out. I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, and then I'm going to take a 9th ball right here. So these golf balls are the golf balls that I'm not going to hit, and these are the 10 that I'm going to hit. Now the reason why you put the 10 golf balls out there at first is because you don't want to have to count how many shots have I hit. It's too much calculating. All you have to know is the number of times that you've hit it into your thing, so you can tell by the number of golf balls that are left, do a little subtraction, whatever. All right, so first shot. I've got to hit it into the goal post, so I'm going to pick a target somewhere in the middle of that I like to see. If you like to play a right to left shot, you might aim just inside the left edge of that building. And if you like to play a cut shot, you might aim on the inside right of the flag there. So I get my target, go through my pre-shot routine. Okay. Now that golf ball right there, you can see, is coming down right in the center of those two, basically the left and right sides of the green. So that golf ball would have landed on the green. So that's one green in regulation. And again, we're working with 10. If I can hit this ball onto the green 80% of the time, I will have achieved my goal, right? Now we're not going to go through hitting all 10 of these, but what you need to understand is you have to have a goal. So my goal is 8. If I get to 8, what's going to end up happening is my next goal would be 9. Now what will happen to you is this, and this is the fun part about this drill. So many times when we play golf, we get nervous. And we get nervous because we're about to achieve something that we haven't been able to achieve before. Maybe it's our lowest score, maybe it's the first time shooting under par, maybe it's the first time breaking 100. Whatever it is, you're going to have a little bit of nervous energy. And so what we have to do is we have to create that. And the way we do that is we create this game. So let's say, for the sake of argument, that this is my last shot, and I've hit 7 of 9 shots onto my green, and now I need to hit this onto the green to achieve my goal of 8. Now I've got some pressure on myself. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure, first of all, that my golf club's clean, because I didn't clean that after I hit that last one. And I tell you all the time, if you want the golf clubs to perform for you, you've got to make sure that you take care of them, right? Take care of them, they take care of you. Very simple. So now I'm going through this. Go through my intermediate target, pre-shot routine, pressure building, anticipation. I can see the ketchup coming out of the bottle. Hit my shot. This one's going to be tight, right on the left edge of the green. It just slipped in there. Dave, I know you got that one. It just slipped in there, right? You're my man, Blue. So what I'm telling you is, I had a little bit of pressure on that one for me, and I didn't execute the shot exactly the way I wanted. And what will happen is, the more times you go through this drill, the more comfortable you're going to get being uncomfortable. And so when you go on to the 18th hole in your round, and you have to make that par to break your, to break par for the first time, you're going to have that confidence to know that you've done this drill, you've hit successful shots when you've been nervous, and now you'll be able to feed upon that when you go out onto the golf course. You'll be able to recall that, you'll be able to see those successful shots that you've hit under nervous conditions, and you'll be able to pull off the shot, and you'll break through that goal barrier. And that's the most important thing that we can do. So remember this drill, and you'll improve the game.
Thanks for joining us on Golf Channel Academy. I'm Blair O'Neill alongside the Professor, Martin Hall.
BOGO, buy one, get one free.
Everyone
BOGO.
likes a bargain.
Look, yes, they do. This is a twofer, a two-for-one drill. Now, here's the drill. If I could have you do something that improves your balance and your swing plane at the same time, would you be interested? Yes,
Everyone
yes, I
would be
would.
interested.
Okay, here's the drill.
Okay.
Mo Norman famously said, "My swing balance is me." And this is such a good drill. I've used it with so many good players. Put the feet together. Take the lead foot, for me it's my left foot, put it back on your tippy toe like so. And then start to swing gently back and through and back and through and back and through. And what you'll find is two things. It improves your balance, but it improves your swing plane. If your swing plane goes a bit cranky, if your swing plane goes cranky, you will lose your balance.
Losing your balance.
So it's a BOGO. It's a buy one, get one free.
Buy
it's
one,
a
get
twofer.
one free.
Okay, so let's try that as a practice swing. Feet together.
Feet together.
Take your lead foot, put it back, right on your tippy toe. Now start with some small swings, back and through. This is one of those things you can certainly do at home. Let the swing get bigger and bigger. I'm not saying this would be ideal leg action. That's not why we're practicing it. We're practicing it to improve the balance, always good to do.
Okay.
We're practicing it to improve the plane,
You gotta have
always
good
good
balance
to do.
there.
You do, and let's just clip a ball forwards doing exactly that. You won't hit it your full distance. This isn't about the power part of golf. This is about the precision part of golf. Not bad. You could make a slightly bigger swing than that.
Okay.
It takes a little bit more than that. Just one more.
A little bit
But
more.
it's one of my favorite drills. If people's heads move too much, very good. If people's heads move around too much, it's almost like a super magic pill to help them
Keeps
keep
you
the head
steady.
still. So BOGO, buy one, get one free. That's what we've done. It's a 2-for-1.
A 2-for-1. Thanks for joining us on Golf Channel Academy, and for more great tips like this, make sure to watch School of Golf.
Thanks for joining us on Golf Channel Academy. This is School of Golf, and I'm your teacher, Martin Hall. I'm joined by Dave Stockton, two-time Ryder Cup player, two-time major champion, Ryder Cup captain. You've taught all the best players in the world over the last few years with the short game. Rory, Phil, I mean, you name it, you've taught them. And I want you to tell me, and the rest of the world, of course, what you're doing with Rory McIlroy. You've really turned his putting statistics around this year. And in fact, you said you just spent a couple of hours with him yesterday on the putting green.
Right. He was probably one of the easiest I've ever had to work with. But basically because, in my opinion, he didn't take a practice stroke. And he was unique to anybody else I've ever seen because his only routine mistake is he's too fast. That can't be said for very many people. And I tried to slow him down. I wanted him to have a better look at the hole when he came in, about setting his foot and then putting the putter down and looking at the hole as he set his foot. So it's a meaningful look. And then I know he's lined up. He goes through with the back of the left hand. He believes the left hand's the direction hand. And so it's just going right on through to the hole. So it's very simple. And without having, you know, most people you kind of talk them out of what kind of a practice stroke they have. Because as I mentioned to you, to me, the routine, I'm looking to see if that person really sees what he or she is trying to do with that putt. And in Rory's case, it's just a matter of getting behind, walking up the ball, getting set with his eyes, and letting it go.
Well, Dave, let's. What I'd like you to do, if you would please, exaggerate Rory's previous routine where he was too quick. Perhaps exaggerate it a bit, and then show us what would be a more repeatable routine. He was too quick. Most are too slow, but Rory was too quick.
But he was too quick from here in. I mean, it was like this. And I told him, I said, you're going to make this thing. I want you to enjoy this. So you come in, and I mean, you're feeling it. You're going to see it coming in. He gets feel. He puts the putter down. He looks at the target, comes back to his spot, and rolls it right over that spot. And he's going to make the ball's going to go in the hole basically every time. And what it was, and I saw that, I thought it permeated his entire long game. he was too quick, and then he had to slow down because, you know, he's the longest hitter in a group generally, unless he's playing with Cole Sarch or something. But there's no sense to walk real fast because he's going to be the last one to hit. So I tried to work on everything, whether it's long game or short game. I wanted the routine to be very consistent with the pace. So, and as soon as he did that, it became much better. I mean, he implemented at the U.S. Open where he won at Congressional, following the month and a half earlier when he imploded at the Masters, which was a totally different person with the routine that he had. And that was the reason I think he won by so many, was that routine change, not a physical swing change as we'd think of.
Well, I think that's really important, and what I've gleaned from our time together here is, I mean, obviously the mechanics of the stroke matter to some degree,
sure,
but the whole rhythm, the whole tempo of how you walk in, how you look at it, very important. Dave Stockton, thank you so much. Always
you got
a pleasure.
Martin. Thank you.
Always a
Good
pleasure to be with you. Thanks for joining us on Golf Channel Academy for the best in golf instruction. For more great tips like these, make sure to watch School of Golf Wednesday nights at 7 p.m.
Playing in just 13 events, Miguel Angel Jimenez finished 6th in the year-long Charles Schwab Cup points race. He says he'll play a lot more in 2017. The 21-time European Tour winner is regarded as one of the better ball strikers on PGA Tour champions. He says it's all about creating rhythm, and this takeaway drill helps achieve that purpose.
Sometimes a little bit too independent, my arm with my body is not connected. And like this is because the weight of the club is allow you to get more connected on the swing, you know, especially on the backswing. And it's very important to be connected on the backswing, allow you to make a nice follow through afterwards. That things, you know, when I feel like my reading is not there, that helps a lot.
Joe here. I'm going to talk to you about one of the greatest clubs ever invented. It's called the Hybrid or the Rescue. The reason why it's so great, it's taken the place of the long irons. The 2, 3, 4 iron, they're obsolete. The reason why is because your 2, 3, and 4 iron are very difficult to hit. Look how thin the blade is here. Look how narrow that is. Take a look at the Hybrid. There's a lot of mass behind it, a lot of mass behind the face. Also, the center of gravity on the Hybrid is very low, which helps you hit the ball high. The tough thing about the long irons is always hitting the ball high and having the ball land soft. Not anymore. Check out the Hybrid. The other thing about the Hybrid is you've got to treat it like an iron. You always want to feel like you're going to hit down on it so the ball goes up. You don't want to treat it like a fairway metal. The fairway metal is a little bit too far up in your stance and you're trying to hit it a little bit more on the upswing. The Hybrid, hit it on the downswing. The ball goes up nice and high, lands soft. Let me show you. When you get set up, make sure the ball is just slightly forward in your stance. Take your normal swing and then hit down on it just like you would a mid to short iron. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm going to give you a simple tip how to encourage a fade and a draw when you're out playing on the golf course. Essentially here I've got 2 balls teed up on the practice tee. One is over on the right hand side, so if I walk in here, put my club down nice and square, when I look up, the fairway is going to be a little bit to the left of me. So watch what happens. I'll start shuffling over to the left to aim at the middle of the fairway, and as you can see, the ball position went slightly forward. As the ball goes forward, that's going to encourage a fade. I'm going to swing more out and across it. So now if I move over to the left-hand side of the tee box, as you would, you set up nice and square, but when you look up, the fairway's to your right, so I'm likely to move this way, which brings the ball a little bit back, which is going to encourage me swinging inside, which will encourage a draw. And a nice draw it is. Again, if you want to hit a fade, go to the right-hand side of the range. That will encourage a cut swing. If you want to hit a draw, go to the left-hand side of the range. That will encourage a draw swing.
Here's a driver tip for you that you might not hear every day. When you're warming up, I usually warm up with short irons, mostly work my way up into the longer clubs. Long time ago, I took a lesson from Harvey Pinnock, and he told me, he said, Hal, you've only got 15 or 16 good driver swings in you. Make sure you don't hit them all on the driving range. So I worked into my game that if I hit 2 or 3 really good drives with my driver, that's all I needed to see. What I see y'all do mostly on the range is you love to see the driver. You like to hit a bunch of them. You like to see it go a long ways. Let's not worry about that. It takes a lot of effort to hit a good driver. Let's tone it down, hit a lot of irons, get a few drivers that you like, and then let's go to the golf course with that.
Do a little talking about the hybrids. Greatest little clubs ever invented, especially for the amateur golfer. One is that if you don't play a lot, they're much easier to hit in the air as opposed to like a 4-iron, 3-iron, or 2-iron, especially even a 1-iron. So, what is the problem that the amateurs have? The one thing is they try to help the ball up in the air, and that's the worst thing you can do with these hybrids. These hybrids are meant to be hit down on in order to get the ball up. So remember, don't hit up on it, you want to hit down on it. Therefore, we're using the golf club. Manufacturers are amazing this day and age how they've helped everybody improve their game. These are like cheating.
Infamous, the only flop shot. And so where are we? Well, we're at a course you're going to be playing very shortly in an event, I believe.
Couple
the
weeks.
18th at Pebble Beach. I'm going to say big hitting Blair O'Neill has just missed the green in 2, and she's left with this difficult flop shot.
Well, up and down.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be an easy one. Now look, to really show people the flop shot, I've taken my golf club and I've put a happy face on it. I put a sticker on it so I didn't put permanent mark on my face, and you can see the happy face is that way relative to the face.
That's a mean looking happy face.
No, it's a very happy face. It's a very
okay.
happy face.
Okay.
So I'm just going to have you hold that right now.
Okay.
And as you look down at that, the eyes of the happy face are sort of somewhere near the ground and the smiley face is up to the air. Here's the point. Put both hands on the club. We know we've got to get under the ball. Listen, let me tell you that for sure flop shots, practice swings are so important to bang that club. But the smiley face, the reason for the smiley face, if you'll hold on, is as you swing back, as the player swings back, you see the smiley face. And if my cameraman could just come around a little bit, it would be fantastic to just show the smiley face in that respect, that now the eyes are at the top of the club and the smiley face is down at the bottom. And then as you swing through on the other side, you keep the loft on the club. And again, I think my intrepid cameraman should be able to see, there's the smiley face.
I love the visual.
Well, it teaches the hands what to do, but
definitely.
in a very simple manner. So, for the flop shot, if you take lots of practice swings, I mean, it's got to be wristy, it's got to be a bit of leg action, got to keep moving. Bang that ground a bit more there, Blair, because we've got to get under the ball. Now, we're so close to the simulator, we won't see a ball flight, but I thought better that than putting the ball up in the rafters and getting a very large bill from
that's
those.
Trouble.
Yeah, no, bad. So you're trying to see the happy face through the entirety of the swing, or at least have that feel.
Okay.
Plenty of knees, always a little bit of leg action. Want to keep moving with this shot. Here we go. Just sliding that club under the ball.
Whoa.
That was fantastic.
That was a flop shot.
To the degree that even here you got the ball right up there. So that was really, really well done. So that just shows you, if you've got the loft on the face and you keep the loft through the entirety of the swing, it goes up.
I've got a tip on how to hit this lob shot that some of us have trouble doing. First thing to do is make sure that you have a nice, stable stance. The foundation is good, but rather than having this, open that right toe a little bit. That helps keep a little bit more depth in the backswing, and you want this, you don't want to really hit down on this shot. You want it to be more of a sweep. So what we're trying to do here is open our stance, aim a little bit left, open the club face a little. Make sure that you go back more slowly than what you might think, and keep those hands quiet. We don't want a lot of this. We want the hands to stay quiet. So open it up, take it back slowly, get the ball up in the air. Without a whole lot of effort, you get pretty good results that way.
In an effort to create more speed and more distance, I see a lot of people straightening their right leg at the top of their swing. By doing that, you lose a lot of stability. Your swing gets a little bit long and you can go over the top or back underneath too far. The ball can go either direction. One of the best tips I had when I was in college at Wake Forest, a teammate's dad, Tom K. Sr., instructed me to keep more flex in my right knee. He had noticed I was getting my right leg too straight at the top of my swing. So I really worked on maintaining the flex in my right knee. By doing that at the top of my swing, I created more torque. Thus, I had more stability at the top of my swing. I created more speed coming down, hit the ball a lot more solid and a lot more accurate. So if you're having trouble with the ball going both directions, try watching what your right knee is doing and maintain the flex in that right knee. I think it'll help everything you're doing in your golf swing.
The higher handicapper, I think I see a lot of times they get in there and they keep their body very still, and then it's just right here, and it has no feel, no flow to the swing at all. So I would encourage the amateur golfer to have a mini swing. Go ahead and release your body through the shot, just like we would teach on a long game to finish with your belt buckle to the target. And it's just kind of a release of my body, rotating through the shot there. Not a lot of effort there, not a lot of tension. I see a lot of tension usually in the grip of a player, maybe gripping real tight and being real stiff and doing something like that where they just don't have any flow or any feel. And one of the things that I told my guy today was, how far back should you have this club if you just kind of dropped it on the ball to get it to the hole? Certainly he couldn't have done it from right there. So if you're right there and you just kind of drop the club on the ball, that's kind of the feel or the
the idea that I have, try to get it the proper distance on this golf shot.
Welcome to Golf Channel Academy. This is School of Golf. I'm your teacher, Martin Hall, with a great chipping tip for juniors. And I'm pleased to be joined by Nina Cruz from the First Tee of Central Florida. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Chipping
tip. We all need to chip it better. Now, I've got a broom, and I've got a towel, and I've got a fairly broken beach ball. Each one of these are household items, and we're actually going to use them for different tips. This one is a chipping tip, so we are going to use a towel. You could actually use a beach towel, could be soaking wet. Just set up for me, Nina, as if you're going to chip an imaginary ball. Now, you're fairly well educated with golf, no doubt you've been taught well, but some of the people watching this may not be so good, and this will still help you. A lot of people, when they come through, flick the club head up in the air a bit too independently. The hands are working too independently of the arms, so the arms end up not moving at all, and the club head moves very quickly, and it leads to a lot of misses. Now, where does this towel come in? The feeling I like people to have through the hitting area would be as if that was a big, wet beach towel, heavy with sand, and the feeling I like people to have through the hitting area is one of dragging a wet towel, not just to, but through the ball. Would you like to have a go at that? Yes, I would, Martin. Very good. I knew you would. So what we're going to do is put this, we're not going to try and hit the ball, we're going to put the club head probably 12 inches behind the ball, on the ground. Now you're going to drag that towel, and it's a nice steady pace, not flicking the towel off the club head. Drag it, drag it, drag it, drag it, keep on coming, very, very good. One more time. Now that's a steady dragging of the club head. There's no hit in that. So it's just like you're dragging a wet towel, dragging, 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 dragging. Nice and steady. Good. Now, when you hit your golf ball, or when you chip your golf ball, that's exactly what I want you to feel. I want you to swing back here, and then magically this towel, with this imaginary towel, would appear on your club. And you're dragging, 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 dragging. You don't hit at the ball, you just keep dragging that towel through it. So let's have a go here. Very, very good for chipping. Take it back and drag it, drag it, drag it. Okay, got that one a little bit on the upswing. I should have told you, you have got to pinch down on it just a little bit. My bad, not yours. One practice swing where you just pinch the turf wood, please, Nina. But dragging the towel, dragging, dragging, dragging. That would be lovely. Need to just brush the grass. It's always a brush the grass at the bottom. Good. Here we go, one time now. Dragging that towel through. And that was pretty good, and that would hit a nice low chip, which is the idea of a chip. So drag the towel. Thanks for joining us on Golf Channel Academy for the best in golf instruction. I'm Martin Hall, and for more great tips like these, tune into School of Golf every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern.
It's been a warm winter across the entire country, and most folks are getting an early spring. So if you're fortunate enough to be heading out to the golf course this weekend, AO has a 30-cent tip for you.
Very good. As you can see here, one of the things, I've got 3 dimes on the ground, and as you can, I can tell you that one of the things that I see from most amateurs that they struggle with is alignment. So 4 basic fundamentals: gap B, grip, alignment, posture, and ball position. One of those 4 things always goes wrong with someone. It always leads back to one of those 4 things within your golf swing that's usually causing the problem. I see a lot of bad alignment from amateurs, but I don't think they understand exactly how to get themselves aligned. They look at the target in the distance and they figure they're aligned to it.
Hold on one second. Damon, I hope you're watching this. Damon can't even get close to aiming.
Okay, so Damon, this one's for you, buddy. All right, so what I want you to do when you're on the driving range, you need to practice this just like you need to do everything else. So what I want you to do is I want you to lay 3 dimes across from one another, about 18 inches in front of your ball. Great to do on mats because you don't have to move them around. okay, and make them about, oh, I'd say a half a centimeter to a centimeter apart from one another. Okay, this is an intermediate target drill. This is what Jack Nicklaus did. This is what Tiger Woods does and did when they were playing at their best. So what these are going to do is you're going to pick different targets, and they're going to align with different targets on your driving range at home. And what I want you to do is I want you to concentrate on that spot when you come into the ball. So when you come into the ball, you've got the target in the distance that you want, but it's hard to align from 175 yards to 225 yards. So you come in looking at that spot on the ground, one of these dimes that aligns to one of your targets in the distance. And I put 3 out so you have different varying targets. And you can get as specific as looking at the edges of these dimes to multiple targets on the ground. So this is how I learned how to do this and train my eyes to look at a spot on the ground. So I put it down, I put the club behind the ball, line it up, then I check my distance, check my target in the distance, make sure everything's aligned, my perception is good. Once you understand and get all your lines lined up, it's a lot easier to line up to something 18 inches in front of you than it is 175 to 250 yards out in front of you. So this works with every club in the bag, and I never miss as far as the alignment is concerned. So I'm going at the left dime, so I'll be just left of target.
Very nice. I really like how you talk about not only just looking at the dimes, but looking at the edge of a dime.
Yes.
Get that target as small as possible.
Aim small, miss small. I mean, Jordan Spieth talks about it. I like that. That's the way I practice. This is the drill. Now I don't have to do it, but obviously you can't do this on the golf course because it's against the rules.
Yeah.
But do this on the range, and then when you get done, your eye is so trained to look at a specific spot on the ground to a specific target in the background that you'll take away the dimes and you'll know exactly how to line up for your games going on in the future.
AO did all the work.
He's keeping the cash, though.
I'm keeping the money. Matt, down to you.
I was going to say, you know, the price of AO swing tips, well, it's 30 cents.
I have a viewer question from Gary in Miami. Raymond, this is the question. Sometimes I hit short and fat pitch shots. Do you have any tips or drills to help me?
Absolutely. What happens when you go fat or short, you don't have any rhythm. You don't take enough swing for the distance of shot you need. Therefore, you're hurrying, not getting back, and there's no rhythm in the swing.
Right.
So my suggestion is think of the pitch and take the club back with rhythm and let it swing, and you're likely not to hit it fat.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting there to see how much room you gave your right arm to swing there. Could you hit one for me, please, Raymond, with that? So probably more swing rather than less.
And maybe get a little bit lighter.
A little bit lighter in the grip.
A little bit lighter in your grip, which allows you to have a little bit more rhythm, and take the club back and let it release with rhythm. And I think you'll get rid of the short, fat shot.
Bit more backswing, that should certainly help.
As you think about as you get ready to hit the shot,
well,
to make sure it's solid contact.
I always tee the ball up on par threes. You only get 18 perfect lies around, right? So I like to tee it up a little bit, which kind of helps me guarantee that I'm going to get under it and hit it in the center of the club face. You know, a lot of times on solid shots are due to a thin or tight lie or a ball that's sitting down on the fairway. So when you got it teed up, you ought to be able to hit it solid more often, and that's what I try to do.
All right. Right at it. Okay, so you don't take any time at all?
No.
What is going through your mind? Are you just basically, you've practiced and you just go and hit it?
Pretty much. Unless I'm super confused if wind's swirling and I don't know if it's in or down or what it's doing. In this case, we're down, mostly straight down. Had the right club, and I just get up there and go with it.
No mindset, nothing. Tempo.
The less the better for me.
There
the less
you go.
the better. So
Well,
overthinking sometimes for me is a kiss of death. So I like to get up and just hit it and get it over with.
Well, if you have an athletic golf swing and you have swing speed, sometimes I see players in an effort to get more power, they get a little bit collapsed at the top of their backswing, so their weight starts to go a little bit forward, these arms start to get a little bit close to the body, that golf club goes past parallel. And what I see a lot of players do is if they get into that overswing position, they get a lot of weight going forward to that left toe. They then have to reverse that and kind of go backwards on the downswing, and then they're losing a lot of the speed that they tried to create. So it's important that on your backswing, you don't get that club to go past parallel. If you look at some of the longest hitters on the PGA Tour, they have much more stability in their lower body, and that golf club gets to about a parallel position. It doesn't collapse and go past parallel. And I think that can be a good thing if you've got an athletic swing and you have a lot of speed, to make sure that you don't overswing in an effort to get power. So load that right side and then go ahead and fire through and create power without an overswing.
It is great to have a versatility with a club. In other words, I love hitting my 54-degree wedge. And so a lot of times when I'll get a shot like this, I'll make a decision on how I want to hit it. And what I do, Dave, I don't change my technique. I mean, when I'm under the gun, when I'm in pressure, I want to have something that's reliable and that's simple. So my standard shot would be to land it about halfway there, and I'll put it in the middle of my stance. Club pretty normal. Land it halfway there and then roll it to the hole, because I have room. So what I like to do sometimes, though, if I have I might want to hit a shot that's going to roll even a little bit more. And so now I don't change my technique, but now I'll drop it back in my stance on my right foot. My hands are a little more ahead. Now I'm going to hit a low running shot with the exact same technique, but there could be humps in the way, or there's a reason why I want to run it a little bit more.
Okay.
Sometimes you might want to fly it over a little hump, or you have a little less green to work with. Now with the exact same technique, I'll put it up in my stance, open the club face. This is going to hit a shot a little higher, softer, spin. With the same technique. And so just by varying where you put the ball in your stance, how you put the club face, you can hit all different kinds of shots with the same club. And it gives you more versatility, and it just is going to really help your chipping around the greens.
Can we talk about the specific technique then? It's amazing that you can take a shot, one club, and hit 3 different types of shots. But now the technique in terms of where's your weight distribution, how far back are you bringing it, and all that. I mean, if you want to hit it halfway here, is there something to do with the backswing? My father always said, hit it as hard as you would throwing a ball underhand. Do you have any kind of technique like that?
Well, I think that's a great analogy, is that you do want to kind of hit it like you're going to throw it underhand. Now, if you're going to throw it underhand, you don't take it back here and give it a big rip. You don't take it back here and then stop here. It's a swing. If you are going to throw it underhand, without thinking about it, you swing back, you swing through. And so to me, it's real similar in chipping. I want to have the technique where it goes back and through in the same speed. So in other words, it goes back in 1, goes through in 2. Similar actually to a putting stroke. The way to be a little bit more forward, because you do want to hit down on the ball just a little bit, but you're not chopping down. So it's along the ground. So for a generic chip, kind of off the middle of the stance, hands slightly ahead, weight just a little bit on the left side. Just a back and through motion. Real similar to throwing a ball.
setup is balance and posture and trying to maintain all the angles that you create in a setup. And you can see from this camera that, you know, you have a knee flex, your butt's behind you, you're leaning forward. Well, during your golf swing, you don't want to get out of those positions. When you get to the top of the swing, you still want to have all those angles. The tendency is that people will try to, they're trying, especially with the driver, they're trying to hit it a little harder. So they'll try to make a bigger swing. Now, I can go to 90 degrees shoulder turn pretty easy. The minute I try to go a little further, I lift out of it. So now all of a sudden my spine is straight and my shoulders are here, and you got to compensate. Well, your goal is to not have all these compensations. And to minimize that is to stay in those fundamental angles that you get into in your setup. So you're always working on posture and balance. 99.9% of the time when a tour player goes to the range, they're working on the most basic fundamentals that you can possibly work on. It's all ball position, posture, balance, rhythm, timing. It's all the same thing. It doesn't matter whether it's a sand wedge all the way to the driver. So when you get to the driver, you really want to maintain these angles. So that's what I'm trying to think of. When I'm over the ball, I'm trying to be as relaxed as I can, maintain this good balance, rhythm and posture during the golf swing. So I just turn. And that was dead straight. That was a really good shot.
But as far as length is concerned, I know that Sharon Funk beat you the first time you guys played, or so I heard.
Close.
Close?
Yeah,
okay.
Close.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there is a Funk that hits it a long way, and that's Taylor.
Yes.
How does Taylor hit it out there so long?
Well, Taylor has the modern golf swing. He has, for as short as he is, he's only 5'9½". He's still taller than me.
Me too.
But he has long arms, so he has a little longer leverage, but he has a big golf swing for a little guy. He's kind of built exactly like Rory McIlroy. So you picture Rory McIlroy, this is a little guy that's one of the longest, as long as the longest in the game that plays golf for a living. And he's amazing. So he winds up, he gets a tremendous amount of turn and a tremendous amount of torque. That makes it even more important to be within your parameters of good fundamentals, balance, and the posture that we talk about.
Is that what you focused on with Taylor as he was growing up to play?
No, I didn't really teach Taylor, but I think the modern kid nowadays, the young kid growing up, learn to hit it hard first, and we'll figure out straight later.
The green books. I want to hear from the two current and former professional golfers about green books. Now, is that really an unfair advantage? Anybody in the field can buy one. They're not limited to any one player. It's an accurate representation of what the green looks like. You can see where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
Do you oppose the idea of the green book?
Well, not everybody can have one because you do have to have about $250 to actually purchase one. So you got to have $250 to go buy one.
Is that what they cost?
Yeah, that's what they cost now. So the problem I've got with it is, you know, you're already giving players information. You can go buy a nice yardage book. You can go buy a great caddy. You know, essentially that's a service that you're paying for is you can get an experienced caddy, one that's either been at the golf course you're playing or you know, been caddying on tour for a long time. You get a whole location chart on the first tee. So where do you draw the line? Say, well, I mean, you can have this, but you can't have that.
Precisely.
How
is that any different than a yardage book?
Yeah,
it's effectively giving factual information about the golf course. That's where I find it difficult to really justify going through with a rule change or some sort of banning of it. And I think Todd Lewis made up a great point, saying even if they did ban it, even if the rules of RNA and USGA came together and said we don't want this a part of the game, PGA Tour can completely ignore that and put their own local rule in. And frankly, PGA Tour, LPGA Tour, European Tour are about the only tour players that are going to be even have access to this book. So I find it a bit of a waste of time and energy. I mean, I appreciate them trying to address things in the game quickly, but...
So the idea is, well, you can read the greens in this book and you read them a little bit quicker, but that's not really the case, because now you got a yardage book, you got a green book. They're talking about maybe adding a yardage measuring device. It's not like you throw the other two things out and just rely on one. Now all of a sudden you got all of these tools that players and caddies are possibly going to be using. So to me, it's all about pace of play. You know, let's find a very good pace of play policy that says, yeah, you can have these tools, they're available to everybody, but we got to get the ball rolling in 45 seconds. You know, I mean, that's what it comes down to for me. And it's still, even though you have all this information, you still have to execute the shot.
And I don't know that having the green book is going to make it go any faster. I wonder if having that much information is going to slow the game down, because players are going to sit there and read every single break in the entire green.
That's why the pace of play policy becomes very, very important as players add tools to the toolbox.
I'm Martin Hall. You're watching School of Golf Extra Credit Specialty Shots. 4 of them, 4 very special shots all around the greens. These are all shot savers. Let's get going with number 1. Okay, into the grain. Very difficult chip or pitch shot into the grain. What does into the grain mean, just in case you don't know? The grass usually doesn't grow straight up. It's going to grow one way or the other. So here, I'm going to make the grass grow in this direction, away from my target. I'm roughing up my mat here so that I would actually have to hit into the grain. What a difficult shot this used to be for Martin Hall. The easiest thing to do when you're into the grain is to flub it and hit it fat, and most pros will tell you that. They don't like the into the grain shot. I've got the remedy. Here we go. Under reach, thank you, Paul Runyon. Under reach, don't quite ground the club, but here's the trick into the grain. To avoid that grass grabbing the club and sticking it into the ground, I want you to think left shoulder. And as you swing through, I want you to think left shoulder, back and up. It doesn't just go up, it turns, but it goes up. Some practice swings with just your right hand actually on your left shoulder. Feel your left shoulder go up. That gets the club up out of the ground pretty quickly, and if your left shoulder goes up, it is very difficult to hit it fat. Heavy, you know, too much ground, which is the big mistake into the grain. Okay, left shoulder up fixes that one. Now, what about if we're going down grain? Well, of course, the easiest thing if you're going down grain is actually to hit it a bit thin. And so the way we get around that is it's the opposite grain, and guess what? We do the opposite thing. So this one's going to be weight a bit left, left shoulder down. When you make your practice swing this time with your right hand on your left shoulder, keep the left shoulder down, feel like the club stays down to the ground. This one's much easier, other than the ball tends to come out a bit lower. So left shoulder down, keep the left shoulder down as you pop it forward. There probably won't be a lot of swing there unless you've got to try and hit a really high one. That's difficult. Now here's a shot you will sometimes get, and it's a tricky one, the perched lie. If you play anywhere where you've got kikuyu grass, Kentucky thick blue grass, something like that, the ball will sometimes sit up right on top of the grass. Well, the best I could sort of do with that is to actually put the ball right on a tee here, and sometimes the ball will sit up as if on a tee. Well, it's ever so easy to go right underneath the ball when you do that. So here's the thought. I'm going to give you a very flat, rounded merry-go-round swing. Very flat. Feeling might be that the club head hardly ever comes off the ground. What doesn't come off the ground can't go into the ground, so you won't dig it and go under it. So here's my perch lie. Little shorter with the club, little shorter on the club than normal. A very rounded, flat swing, and that will stop you going underneath it. Now it leaves us with one shot, the divot. We're in the divot hole. Now, if you want to know how to hit a high, soft shot out of a divot hole, I hope you're listening, it's impossible. You can't. So what you have to do is allow for the ball to roll, but you've got to make good contact out of a divot hole. Here's how you do it. The ball goes back, as with most bad lies. The weight goes left. If you do need a little bit of height, here's what I'm going to suggest. Open the face a little bit and aim left to counter that. Hands are forwards, a very abrupt, and I mean abrupt, cocking of the wrist. It might even feel like there's almost no arm swing at all. So it's what I'd call cock it and pop it. It's in a hole. I'm going to cock it and I'm going to pop it. And the cock and pop will throw it out of that divot hole. 4 drills. They're all going to help.
Your dynamics, your specifics when it comes down to the elements of making a crucial putt at a crucial time.
Well, one of the things that I've always done is make sure I'm relaxed, take a nice deep breath. So when I'm coming in there, I use aim point, so I'm using percentage of slopes. My caddy, Rich Mayo, goes out every week on Monday and Tuesday before I get there and gets all the percentage of slopes on green. So when I'm looking at the book, I know where the straight putts are, I know what the percentage of slopes are, and I go off the aim point book for that. So we got out here, and this was one that's going to break about 3 inches to the right. So I set up my line 3 inches over there to the left-hand side. And as I walk in, take a couple practice strokes, walk in, make sure I take a nice deep breath, just settle in, and go ahead and let it go.
There it is.